I think it's time to start our discussion. Today, I have one idea. I want to talk about Donald Trump, who is the U.S. president. I think the president of the United States is probably the most powerful politician because the United States is still the most powerful superpower in the world. They are militarily most powerful. Economically, they are also most powerful. When it comes to international relations, I think the U.S. is the most influential country in the world. Over the last week, the U.S. President Donald Trump has visited Asia. The first stop is Malaysia. He has talked to the Prime Minister of Malaysia. I'm not sure if he has participated in the summit meeting of ASEAN. I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm not tracing the international news every day. Okay. Actually, I'm a junior researcher of geopolitical strategy and international relations. I have a great interest in these domains, right? He has visited Asia over the last week. The first stop is Malaysia, and the second stop is Japan, and the final stop is South Korea. In South Korea, he has participated in some events of APEC. Most importantly, he has met with the Chinese leader. Okay, so this meeting between Trump and the Chinese leader is one very anticipated event for the entire world. I think today it's an opportunity. I think it's a good opportunity for all of us to exchange some ideas about this Asian trip of Trump and his foreign policy. You know, he's the president. He's the U.S. president of the second term, and we can talk about his foreign policy. And the most important topic of today's discussion is about his grand strategy, if he has. Okay. Okay. So maybe I will talk about 20 minutes, half an hour. I'm not sure. I'm not a good speaker, and English is not my mother tongue. I'm not sure if I can express my opinion in a good way, but I will try my best. Actually, today it's an opportunity for me to practice my English because English is so important. For me, English is almost the standard language of today's world. If you cannot express your opinion in English, I think you will have no influence on the outside world. So I want to have some influence, a little influence, okay? Therefore, I force myself to organize some discussions in English like today's discussion. Okay, so let me start because many people are talking about Donald Trump, and he is absolutely not a conventional U.S. president, and his foreign policy is controversial. Okay, and there is no consensus. So I'm also very interested in Donald Trump. But, you know, he is the U.S. president, and the U.S. is so influential. We have to have one concrete topic for today's discussion. My idea is about the grand strategy of the Trump administration, the second term of Trump administration, Trump 2, okay? Undoubtedly, I think Trump is an unconventional U.S. president. Whether his second term foreign policy is shaped by a grand strategic logic or driven by transactional thinking and the short-term gains remains a matter of debate. Some people argue that Trump lacks a strategic vision, relying on instincts to navigate international relations while prioritizing personal relations over a systematic approach John Bolton. I have seen him in Berlin, Germany. He has made one speech during one event organized by the German Foreign Relations Council. Also, I have seen John Bolton, and he was the national security advisor during Trump's first term. John Bolton is actually one very influential politician in the United States. For a long time, he has been very active in foreign policy, in national relations, geopolitics, and strategy, and so on. Okay, from John Bolton's perspective, Trump is absolutely not a strategist. Trump has no strategic thinking at all. Trump has no agenda. Trump is driven by the daily event. He has no long-term grand strategy. John Bolton has made it very clear. I think you cannot ignore John Bolton's opinion because he was Trump's national security advisor for almost 2 years. According to John Bolton, he is a national security advisor who has served Trump for the longest time. I think he is right. During Trump 1, Trump has changed his national security advisor very often. I think he has 3 or 4 national security advisors during the first term, and during the second term of Trump, he has changed national security advisor again, right? The initial national security advisor has the name Ward something, but now he is ambassador to United Nations. Now Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, is the national security advisor. So I mean, John Bolton has served for Trump for quite a long time as national security advisor, and John Bolton is a heavyweight politician. I think he is quite good. I'm very impressed. I think John Bolton is quite good. He has experience with Trump. He has worked together with Trump as a national security advisor. Therefore, his opinion is absolutely meaningful, okay? So according to John Bolton, Trump is absolutely not a strategist at all. He is just a businessman. He focuses on personal relations. He focuses on short-term games, maybe economic interests, and so on. Trump can be anything but a strategist. So this is quite clear. But some other people, like Neil Ferguson, he is a scholar of Hoover Institution. He's a historian, and yesterday I have listened his podcast. He has discussed with 2 other scholars. Very good conversation. Neil Ferguson believed Trump is a strategist. He has a grand strategy. Not only Neil Ferguson, but also other scholars and experts. They believe Trump has a grand strategy. But what is his grand strategy, especially for his second term? There is no consensus. There is no consensus on what grand strategy Trump actually pursues. As far as I know, there are 3 prominent arguments. The first is called as a priority strategy. This means Trump seeks to share the burdens in Europe and the Middle East. He wants to focus entirely on Asia. He wants to counter China in the Indo-Pacific because China is the most dangerous and the most powerful strategic competitor of the United States. He wants to focus on China. So this is the first argument. Trump pursues a priority strategy. Okay, and the second, it's called as sphere of influence theory. It means that Trump does not pursue global hegemony anymore. Instead, he wants to divide the world with two other great powers, China and Russia. Okay, so this is called as a sphere of influence. Maybe China will control Asia, and Russia will control Eastern and Central Europe, and the U.S. will control Western Europe, maybe Japan, South Korea, Australia, and of course, Americas. I mean, North America and South America. So this is second argument that Trump pursues a sphere of influence. He wants to divide the world into three parts with two other formidable great powers, China and Russia. I'm not sure if this argument is convincing, but we will discuss today, okay? And the third argument, it's also very influential. They believe Trump is pursuing American first strategy. Not only this will have huge impact on American foreign policy. This is called as isolationist strategy. This means that the U.S. will withdraw from the world stage. U.S. will not play the role of world police. U.S. will focus on domestic matters because the United States has very serious domestic problems, very serious. Okay, so they are fighting against each other. The American society is divided, and polarization is increasingly serious. Many Chinese scholars and experts believe the American society has a tremendous problem, and U.S. is no longer able to play the role of police. They are not in the position to be the world hegemon. Okay, many scholars and experts, especially in China, believe so. Okay, so I mean there are four different arguments. The first argument is that Trump has no grand strategy at all. He is just a businessman. He is driven by the day-to-day business. He is reacting to the events. Okay, he is not actively shape the outside world. Okay, this is the first argument. Trump is anything but a strategist. Okay, I think John Bolton's opinion is quite representative. We cannot ignore this argument. The second argument is that, of course, Trump has a grand strategy, and this is a priority strategy. Trump wants to focus on China, and the third argument is that Trump wants to divide the sphere of influence with China and Russia. And the last argument is that Trump is an isolationist. Okay, so there are four arguments. Probably there will be much more arguments, but today we can focus on these four arguments. I'm not sure which one is more convincing, which one is correct, but I think Trump's trip to Asia is probably a good opportunity for us to make an analysis. Okay, so this is a good opportunity to empirically assess Trump's foreign policy. And let's discuss if he has a grand strategy. If yes, what kind of grand strategy he's pursuing. Okay, this is today's focus. Again, so if you want to join the discussion, just please connect your microphone on WeChat platform, and okay, you also can write message. I'm doing the live stream in both platforms, WeChat and YouTube. On YouTube, you can write a message. You can ask me questions. I'm not an expert. I'm not a so-called expert, okay? I'm just a junior person, and I want to practice my English, and I'm interested in international politics, so that's why I have selected this topic. So, in one word, I'm not an expert. But this is an opportunity for all of us to exchange ideas and opinions. Uh, let's try our best. Okay, so I think it's a good opportunity for us to reach a consensus. We can evaluate the diverse opinions. Therefore, we can acquire a more precise, nuanced, and thorough understanding about Trump's foreign policy, right? So you can ask a question, you can make comments, and you can express your opinion, right? Okay. So this is the introduction of today's discussion. I have introduced four different arguments about Trump's foreign policy. For me, I have observed Trump for a long time, since his first term, I mean, since 2017, and I have read a lot of documents, literature about geopolitics, grand strategy, and international relations. So I have some information. So I have made some observation. I have some idea to share with all of you. For me, I believe Trump is a leader, transformational leader. Many people believe Trump is a transactional leader. He likes to make deal. He likes to make deal with other countries. Yes, it's true. But on the other hand, Trump is not only a transactional leader, he's also a transformational leader. Why? Why do I why do I think so? I have evidence, especially for the China policy of the United States. Trump took office in 2017, right? That time, he was ignored by many observers, experts, and scholars. People believe Trump is just a businessman, a selfish businessman. He pursues American first policy. He has no understanding about international relations. He does not understand strategy at all. He has no idea about geopolitics. I think this is wrong. This argument is wrong. Completely and totally wrong. Why? The Trump 1 administration published its national security strategy in 2018. I think this national security strategy has changed everything. He has labeled China and Russia as the main strategic competitor of the United States. According to that document, the great power politics is returning. The geopolitics is returning. This is the most important conclusion of that document. He has changed the U.S. foreign policy since the end of Cold War. If we look at the history, okay, at the end of 1991, the Soviet Union, the former Soviet Union, collapsed. The Cold War was over, and it seems that the world has entered the so-called end of history. I think the American scholar Francis Fukuyama has made a very famous argument that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, after the Cold War, the world has entered the end of history. What does it mean? It means that the liberal democracy has won. And now the history is very boring, okay? History is very boring. There will be no conflict, no competition, no confrontation. It is wrong. After the end of the Cold War, we have seen the hyperglobalization, okay? Globalization means the free flow of capital, technology, and people. I think the globalization has benefited all of us. There are many countries who have benefited from the globalization. China is probably the biggest beneficiary of the globalization. Of course, the US has also benefited from the globalization, but the benefits are not distributed equally. I think the Wall Street and the Silicon Valley have made a lot of money, but not everyone has benefited from globalization. Many people, especially in the middle and western United States, the middle class, the working class, they have not benefited from globalization as much as the Silicon Valley and Wall Street entities. Therefore, they are not satisfied. They are angry. They are very angry. That's why they have selected Trump. They have elected Trump. Trump has seized the emotion of these people, and he has taken advantage of these people. Therefore, he has won the election twice. Okay, twice. This is about the globalization after the Cold War. Okay, but now the situation has changed, radically changed. In the past, we believed the world is flat. Okay, globalization can benefit everyone. Of course, indeed, the globalization has benefited a lot of people. I think I have benefited from the globalization. I am a Chinese, but now I'm living in Germany. I think I have benefited from the globalization. In the past, China was a poor country. This is unbelievable for the Chinese people to work outside China. It's unbelievable, but now it's reality. So many people have benefited from globalization, including myself. Okay, but the problem is that globalization is not perfect. Globalization has a lot of problems, tremendous problems. Many people have not benefited from the globalization. They have lost job because of the offshore. For example, many American industries have been relocated from U.S. to China and other Southeast Asian countries. Maybe today is India. Okay, so this is the first problem of the globalization, and the second problem, the American elites. I mean, the Western countries elites believe that due to the globalization, China and Russia will be integrated into the world economy, and Russia will become one democratic country, and China will follow Russia. They believe China will become one liberal democratic country because Chinese economy has been Chinese economy will be integrated into the world economy, and there will be one huge middle class inside China, and they will prefer democracy. Okay, so this is the belief of the Western elites. It is wrong. This belief is completely wrong. Right now, Russia has started a war against Ukraine. This is not just a war since the end of World War II. This is not just a ground war in Europe. Russia is in a hot war against Western countries, not a cold war. A hot war, right? And China is now the second largest economy in the world, only after the United States. Okay, China is now a very powerful country, but from the perspective of Western countries, China is not becoming more liberal or democratic, whatever. And instead, China is now the biggest, most powerful, formidable strategic competitor of the US and the Western countries. So Trump has made this argument very clear. Right now, US is in strategic competition with Russia and China, particularly China. Okay, because Russia probably has the intention to challenge the Western countries, but Russia has no capabilities. The population and both the population and the economy of Russia is only 10% of China. Okay, both Russia population and Russia economy are just 10% of China. So maybe Putin is very ambitious. Maybe he has the intention to restore the glory of the former Soviet Union. But Russia's capabilities cannot support his ambition. China is different. China is completely different. China is most powerful strategic competitor of the United States. According to the national security of Biden administration, China is labeled as the most powerful strategic competitor of the U.S., not only intention, but also capabilities. But who has made this change? Trump won. Trump won. This means Trump has changed the U.S. foreign policy fundamentally since the end of Cold War. This is absolutely a transformation, not a transaction. That's why I believe Trump is a transactional leader, not, sorry, this is why I believe Trump is a transformational leader rather than transactional leader. Many people believe, including many scholars and experts believe Trump is just a transactional leader. This is wrong. This is totally wrong. Trump has changed the international politics fundamentally and radically. He is a transformational leader. Okay? And now, I think Trump has faced a lot of challenges during his first term. But now he's in the White House again for his second term as the U.S. president. If he has changed the direction of U.S. foreign policy during his first term, he has changed the globalization. He has labeled China as the most formidable strategic competitor. Means the strategic competition between great powers has returned. Geopolitics has returned. For his second term, it's about how. For his first term, he has made it clear U.S. should compete against China. But for his second term, the people will ask how. How can he achieve his ambition? Today, I listened to the podcast. I think Stephen Kotkin. He's a very famous Russia expert in the United States. Actually, Stephen Kotkin knows history and international relations quite well. He's not only an expert on Russia. I think he knows China very well too. He has made it very clear. Trump will be judged by his performance on China. Okay. So how will Trump deal with China? I think this is probably the number one most important foreign issue for him. Okay, let's make it clear. Let me make it clear. Trump is not only one transactional leader, as people used to believe. Today, there are still many people believe Trump is just one transactional leader. But just now, I have argued that Trump is a transformational leader, right? So I believe Trump has a grand strategy. Yes, Trump is not the classical leader. Okay, so he has no political experience. He was a businessman. He has no experience with international relations like Putin and other European leaders like today's German Chancellor Friedrich Merz. Okay, Trump has no experience with international relations, but I do believe he has one grand strategy. Maybe he has not written one document which is called as national grand strategy or whatever, but his behavior, his policy is quite clear that he has a grand strategy. I think he wants to be the greatest U.S. president. He wants to be remembered as the greatest U.S. president. How can he achieve this dream? He must win the Cold War against China. I think the world is in Cold War too. This is quite clear. Maybe 5 years ago, nobody believes Cold War II because globalization and the countries are depending on each other. There is very strong interdependence between different countries, especially between U.S. and China. U.S. has market and China has products. Okay, so China and the U.S. should be partners. But today the situation is completely different. I think the people have no question about the situation. Today we are in the Cold War too. The interdependency is just the legacy of the globalization. And today the countries, especially the great powers, are trying to weaponize the interdependence. This is quite clear, okay? So U.S. is trying to uh, U.S. is trying to stop the progress of Chinese technology progress. U.S. Is trying to restricting the chip exports, especially I mean the semiconductor chip to China, and China is striking back. China has decided to use its most powerful economic weapon, rare earths, because China has controlled the 90% of production or manufacturing of rare earths, and rare earths is essential for many products, including cars, fighters, submarines, many important technological products. Okay, without rare earths, it's impossible. And China is controlling 90% production of rare earths. And in the past, China was very careful, very cautious. But now China has decided to use its most powerful weapon. I mean, the interdependence has been weaponized. This is the characteristics of the new era of great power competition. We are seeing this change is happening. Okay, so Trump has changed globalization, and Trump has changed the U.S. Foreign policy fundamentally. And today we are seeing the change. We are witnessing the change. Of course, Trump has made a deal with China. Okay, and uh, Trump believes it's very productive visit, and it's a very good meeting with Chinese leader. And yes, I think China and the U.S. has made a compromise during the meeting on last Friday of Thursday, I think, last Thursday in South Korea. Both countries have made a compromise. They have made a deal, but nobody, I want to emphasize, nobody believes this is a peace deal, but a truce deal. It's just a truce. And they will stop they will stop fighting against each other for just 1 year. Who knows? 1 year. Who knows what will happen after 1 year? Who knows? Nobody knows. This is just a truce, not a peace deal, not a peace agreement. Okay. Actually, I prefer to believe Trump has a grand strategy of priority. I have made it very clear last year after Trump's election in November 2024. I was invited by one European countries. To be clear, it's Austria. So Austria, I was invited to speak about the new bloc confrontation between the East and the West. That time, I has made it very clear. The old globalization is over. I mean, the globalization after Cold War is over. For that time, there is no great power competition, and the Western countries, especially the United States, is trying to launch the globalization, a true globalization, and other countries, not only U.S. airlines and partners, but also the former adversaries of the United States, like Russia, like China, will be integrated into the world economy, and India too. Okay, that means this is a true globalization. All the countries will be integrated into the global system. This is a belief of the U.S. Ruling class. Okay, but now this is over. This is over. Russia is in hot war with Western countries, and China is in cold war with the U.S. Okay, so this is today's situation. And last year, during that conference, I have made a prediction. Today, I think my prediction has realized. My prediction is not wrong. I mean, the globalization is over, and the U.S. will reduce its presence and responsibility in Europe, and they want to pivot to Asia. Okay, so they want to achieve the pivot strategy. I think the pivot is a strategy made by the Biden administration, Obama administration. Actually, during the Obama administration, the U.S. strategist Kurt Kemper under the leadership of Hillary Clinton. Okay, he has had the idea of pivot, and later this has been named as Asia Pacific rebalancing. This means U.S. will shift its focus from Middle East to Indo-Pacific or Asia Pacific or Asia or whatever, Asia. Okay, because China has become the most powerful, most formidable strategic competitor of the United States. The U.S. has to mobilize its resource. U.S. has to focus on Asia, and U.S. is not in a position to deal with deal with Europe, Middle East, and China together. No, U.S. is not in the position to stay in the three theaters. Okay, so U.S. resource is limited, U.S. has to focus on its number one competitor, China, in the Indo-Pacific. Okay, I think this is happening. This is happening. Trump is trying very hard to end the Ukraine war. Why? Why? Because U.S. has been involved in Ukraine war. U.S. has has offered a lot of tremendous support to Ukraine to fight against Russia. U.S. has sent tremendous military equipment to Ukraine. Right now, Trump has changed this policy. Trump wants to put pressure on European airlines and partners. Trump has made it very clear the European airlines should take the responsibility in supporting Ukraine. Yes, U.S. will continue to provide weapons, but the NATO countries, that means the European airlines of the U.S. will pay for such weapons. Okay, right? So this means U.S. is determined. Under the Trump leadership, U.S. is determined to reduce its responsibility and military presence in the European theater. Right now, the European airlines of the United States have no choice but to take more responsibility. They are doing that. This is a new division of neighbor. This means that the European countries will take more responsibility in supporting Ukraine. For example, Germany has stationed one brigade in Lithuania. 5,000 German soldiers are being deployed in Lithuania permanently. 5,000 German soldiers. This is unbelievable in the past, but this is happening right now. This means European countries will take more responsibility for their defense. In the past, the European countries are reliant on the protection of the U.S., especially during the Cold War, because Europe was not in a position to confront the formidable Soviet Red Army. Okay, and after the Cold War, the European countries have continued to rely on the protection of the U.S. For example, the European countries could not solve the issue of the civil war in former Yugoslavia. They still rely on the United States. I think the consequence is obvious. Okay, that means the European countries are not in the position to protect themselves. They have not spent enough money on defense. The defense spending is not sufficient, but the European countries are not willing to spend more money on defense because they want to spend more money on other purposes like healthcare, like welfare system. I think the Europeans are enjoying very good health care and other social care better than the United States. This is the consequence. Okay, but now the situation has changed. Trump has put tremendous pressure on European airlines. Trump has forced them to spend more money on defense. And the European airlines of the U.S. have no choice. Right now, they have made a decision. They want to spend more money on defense, 5%. 5%. They have promised to spend 5% GDP on defense. So this is quite clear. This is a new division of neighbor. That means the U.S. will reduce its responsibility and presence in Europe, and European airlines will take more responsibility. European countries will support Ukraine in fighting against Russia. Okay, and U.S. will pivot to Indo-Pacific. Yes, Trump has made a deal with China, but it's a truth. The structure change, the structural factors have not changed at all. The U.S. and China are still in strategic competition, and China is still the number one strategic competitor of the U.S. This time, Trump has visited Asia. Malaysia is the first stop, and then Japan and South Korea. Trump has made a deal with the three countries, because right now China is using rare earth as one weapon to confront the U.S. I think U.S. has realized the urgency of the issue of rare earth. U.S. has discussed with Japan about rare earth. Japan is actually a very powerful country, and Japan has experience in dealing with rare earth. We should not forget 2010. There was one conflict between China and Japan due to the island of Diaoyu. In China, it's called as Diaoyu Island. In Japan, it's called as Senkaku. There was one conflict between China and Japan, and China has decided to use rare earth to fight against Japan, and China has imposed export control for rare earth that time, 2010, 15 years ago. I think China's action has hated Japan. China's action has a tremendous impact on Japan, because Japan is reliant on China for the supply of rare earths. Japan is a manufacturing country. Japan has very powerful manufacturing industries, but Japan has a weakness or vulnerability. Japan is completely, almost 100% reliant on the overseas supply of energy and material, raw material, including rare earths and other energies and raw materials like oil, like natural gas, almost 100%. So China's export control against Japan has a tremendous impact on Japanese economy. Therefore, Japan has decided that Japan has tried very hard to deal with this issue. They have established one new government ministry. This is called as Economic Security Ministry. Japan has established the Economic Security Ministry after the 2010 conflict with China. And today's Japan's famous prime minister, I forgot her Japanese name. He was previously the minister for economic security. Okay. This means that Japan has experience in dealing with the shortage of rare earths. Japan has knowledge. Japan has know-how. Japan has gained a lot of experience in this matter. Today, U.S. has realized the urgency of rare earths. Okay, the U.S. must reduce its dependency on Chinese rare earths. They have no choice. Therefore, the U.S. has spent a lot of money and energy with other countries like Australia, like Malaysia, like Ukraine, like Japan. Okay, I think U.S. has realized the urgency. I think the time is limited. Maybe they have 2 years or 3 years. Okay, and then maybe they will be less dependent on Chinese supply of rare earths. So this is the situation. I think Trump's Asia trip has clearly indicated that Trump wants to enhance the relation with its Asia Airlines. Trump is trying very hard to reduce its responsibility in Europe, but in Asia, he's doing something different. He's trying to enhance the relationship with its Asia Airlines, including Australia, Japan, South Korea, and other partners like Thailand, like Malaysia, like Singapore. The U.S. has not reduced or the U.S. has not reduced its relation with these airlines and partners. I think the U.S. Asian policy is very different from its European policy. So that's why I believe Trump is pursuing a grand strategy of priority. The U.S. wants to focus on Asia because China is the number one strategic competitor. And we should not forget the U.S. War Secretary or Defense Secretary Hexes is visiting Asia, while Trump is visiting Asia. I mean, his Secretary of War is visiting Asia too. This is quite clear. This is very clear that the U.S. wants to enhance its relationship with its Asia Airlines and partners. I'm not sure if you are aware. I'm not sure if you are aware of two international news. Trump has reached trade deals with Japan and South Korea, 15%. As the U.S. Tariff for Japan and South Korea is 15%, if I'm not wrong. Okay, and Japan and South Korea have made a promise that they will invest tremendous money in U.S. Japan has promised to invest $550 billion in the U.S. And South Korea has promised 350 billion US dollars. This is huge money, tremendous investment. Okay. And this is another evidence that the Asian airlines of the U.S. want to enhance their relationship with the United States too, because they have promised to invest tremendous money in U.S. This is actually sinking cost. If you are the Japanese and the South Korean, if you have spent tremendous money in the U.S., then you will have no choice but to enhance your relationship or dependency with the U.S., right? So this means from both U.S. and Asia countries' perspective, they want to enhance their relationship. But what's the target? But what's their goal? I think Japan has made it very clear. For Japan, China is probably the most formidable adversary. Japan and China have a lot of problems. Territory, economical competition, and strategic competition. It is quite clear. I think Japan is determined to work closely with the U.S. in the new Cold War. Japan has made its choice. And the new prime minister, the new famous prime minister of Japan, is a conservative leader. She is the father of Shinzo Abe. Okay. I think she will work together with the United States. She will work together with Trump in competing or confronting against China. This is quite clear for me. So just now I have introduced different ideas about Trump's grand strategy of foreign policy. I personally prefer the priority strategy. I think the behavior of Trump administration after he took office in January have empirically provided a notable evidence for this argument. So this is my belief. Okay, so I have spoke too much. I'm very sorry. I have spoke about 1 hour. Now I think it's time for us to have some communication. If you have any question, any comments, or any opinion, just please write message, or you can open your microphone. You can connect microphone on WeChat platform, and on YouTube you can write a message as well. Okay, if no question, maybe it's time for me to make a final remark. Why do I have the idea to talk about this issue? Because I'm interested in international politics, and the U.S. is the most powerful country in the world. Therefore, its foreign policy is very important. We want to understand the U.S. foreign policy, but how? I think Trump's behavior since he took office has offered us one opportunity to make empirical analysis. I think this is quite clear. Trump is not an isolationist. Many people believe Trump is an isolationist. He wants to focus on domestic matters because there is a huge problem inside the United States, like the conflict between the left and the right, between Republicans and democracies. There is huge conflict and polarization in the U.S. domestic politics, and the U.S. has lost its manufacturing power, and Trump wants to make America great again, and he wants to force the manufacturing industry to return to the United States. And the U.S. has very serious domestic issue. That's why the people believe he is pursuing isolationist foreign policy. He is reducing U.S. responsibility in the international society. This is not correct. It's true that Trump has withdrawn from some international institutions like World Health Organization and the UN Education, Science, and Cultural Organization. Some evidence, because Trump does not believe in institutionalism. This is true, but on the other hand, there is no sign of isolationist foreign policy. I have one very strong evidence. Trump has promised to increase the U.S. military budget to more than $1 trillion. More than $1 trillion. This is unprecedented. This is unbelievable. This is more than 30 countries after the United States combined. $1 trillion for military budget. This means Trump still wants to maintain U.S. hegemony. But the method and the approach, and his approach is different from his Democratic counterparts like Biden. U.S. has hundreds of military bases worldwide, and there is no any sign that Trump will reduce the overseas military presence of the U.S. Instead, he will increase the U.S. military presence in some areas, especially in Indo-Pacific. It's true that the U.S. will reduce its military presence in Europe, because he believes it's the responsibility of European airlines. Probably the US will withdraw military forces from Europe to Indo-Pacific, but not all. I think the US will maintain its nuclear weapons, nuclear presence in Europe, in the European continent. Probably US will withdraw some conventional military forces from Europe to Indo-Pacific. But for nuclear deterioration, but for nuclear military presence, US will not reduce. This is true. I mean, it's quite clear. US will increase its military budget. Next year, it will be unprecedented $1 trillion. And the US will increase its military presence in Indo-Pacific, in Asia, radically, maybe, because China is perceived as number one strategic competitor of the US. So that's why I believe the isolationist argument is not correct. Okay? And another argument of sphere of influence. This is not correct either. Trump has no intention to share the world with China and Russia. He has no such intention. He has reduced the US responsibility and presence in Europe, but this does not mean he will allow Russia to control European continent. No, he has no such intention. He just wants to put more pressure on European airlines to take more responsibility. And now he has realized, he has achieved his objective, because the European countries have agreed to increase its military budget, defense spending, 5% of their GDP. Okay, and they are taking actions like Germany. Germany has spent a lot of money. They have planned to spend much more money for defense spending, and they will reintroduce the military obligation for young men, for young German men. So they will be forced to take military service. Okay, Germany is making change. Other European countries, especially the Eastern European countries and the Baltic countries, like Poland, like Lithuania, like Estonia, they are taking actions. Even France, even Britain, they are taking actions to take more responsibility in defense. They are taking more responsibility in supporting Ukraine. Okay? So this is quite clear. Trump has no intention to allow Russia to control Europe. He just wants to shift the burden from American side to European side. This is clear. And in Asia, does Trump have intention to share Asia with with China? Like China has argued that the Pacific Ocean is big enough for both US and China. Does Trump have such intention to share the sphere of influence with China in Indo-Pacific, in Asia? No, not at all. You can see that the Trump administration is trying very hard to enhance its relationship with its airlines and partners in Asia, like Japan, like Thailand, like Philippines, like South Korea, like Australia. US is investing more economic power, military might, and cultural resource in Asia, because US is prioritizing China as number one strategic competitor. Since the beginning of 20th century, U.S. has expanded to Pacific, to Asia. They believe U.S. is not only a country of Atlantic. U.S. is also a country of Pacific. U.S. is a country with two oceans, Atlantic and Pacific. They believe the U.S. is also a Pacific country, not only an Atlantic country. They believe they are an Asian country. They have made it very clear they have presence in Indo-Pacific. And today, Indo-Pacific is increasingly important economically, militarily, and culturally. There is no any sign that the U.S. will withdraw from Asia. No any sign. There is no any sign that the U.S. will share Asia with China. U.S. is determined to compete against China. Trump is implementing this strategy, this prioritization strategy. I think the illusion that U.S. will share Asia with China should be over. I think the Chinese people should not be naive. Many Chinese people believe U.S. is not an Asian country. U.S. should leave Asia. Americans should go home. This is wrong because U.S. believe they are a Pacific country. They are an Asian country. They have fought in Asia. They have fought against Japan during World War II. Many American people have died. Many American soldiers have died in Asia. They have paid a tremendous price for their Asia presence. They will not leave Asia without a fight. This is clear. Many American soldiers have died during World War II. Today, U.S. has military presence in Japan, in South Korea, and the U.S. is trying to restore defense cooperation with the Philippines, and the U.S. has airline of other countries like Thailand. Actually, Thailand is the oldest airline of U.S. in Asia. U.S. has very good relationship with Asia, and the U.S. is trying to enhance and deepen its relation with Asia airlines and partners, including Malaysia, Indonesia, and many other countries. There is no any sign that the U.S. will withdraw from Asia. Instead, U.S. is investing more in Asia. Okay, so I think the sphere of influence theory is not correct. It's quite clear Trump has a grand strategy of prioritization. The number one priority is China. Okay, this is quite clear. Trump is not a transactional leader, but a transformational leader. He has transformed the U.S. foreign policy fundamentally during his first term. Before Trump won, the U.S. strategic focus was Middle East and Central Asia, and the U.S. has fought 2 wars in Afghanistan and Iraq. U.S. has wasted a lot of money, trillions of dollars, but the U.S. has gained nothing. This means their strategy of war on terror has failed. U.S. has wasted its attention and resource in Middle East and Central Asia. And during that time, China has made a huge progress. China has achieved its development ambition. China has become much more powerful. China has efficiently and effectively used the time of the war on terror. That's why the Obama administration has realized it's time to pivot to Asia. And later, this is called as Asia Pacific Asia Pacific rebalancing. Okay, but the Obama administration has not done enough. The Obama administration hasn't done enough to pivot to Asia, and they still believe the globalization. They still believe the possible cooperation with China. The Obama has changed the Obama administration has changed the U.S. foreign policy a little bit, but not fundamentally. And the Trump one has changed that foreign policy or grand strategy fundamentally. Now it's time for him to achieve or implement this grand strategy. It's quite clear. This is a priority strategy. The U.S. politicians and decision makers and policy makers have realized that U.S. is not so powerful to deal with China and Russia and the Middle East adversaries like Iran simultaneously. U.S. is not so powerful to deal with three enemies simultaneously, maybe four enemies: Russia, China, North Korea, and Iran. No, U.S. is not in the position to deal with the four enemies on Eurasia continent simultaneously. No, no way. It's impossible. That's why they have selected a strategy of prioritization. They want to focus on China. That's why Trump is doing very hard to end the war in Ukraine, and he has mediated the peace in Middle East, right? So why? Because he wants to focus on China, because he wants to shift the U.S. attention and resource from Europe and the Middle East to Indo-Pacific. Indo-Pacific is absolutely the number one theater of U.S. grand strategy, like Western Europe during Cold War I. Now it's time of Cold War II, and the Indo-Pacific or Asia is the main theater of the new Cold War. Yes, there is a deal between China and the U.S. during Trump's Asia trip this time, but this is the truth. This is not a peace, it's truth. Okay, I have spoken a lot. I appreciate your patience. If you have any question, please just raise your question or any comments or any opinion. So I'm very happy, I'm very delighted to discuss with you. I have spoken a lot. I'm very sorry. I have wasted your time. Okay, then thank you. Thank you very much. I hope I will have opportunity again to discuss with you about some international relations issues in English, because this is a good opportunity for me and for you to practice English. I think English is still the most important and most popular language of today's world. If we cannot express our opinion in English, this means we will have no influence. Okay. So thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Hopefully we can meet in internet again. Thank you, and goodbye.